And this is how it starts. It begins in 2072 with an introduction to the Mafia games and the start of its new season. The last season left people with mixed emotions, and it started to lose popularity amongst the public. We then see the host greeting the new participants at the game and welcoming them to the new Mafia games. The game's rules are very simple. 11 players are in the studio, 9 of the players are civilians, and 2 of them are Mafias. The players don't know who belongs to what group, and the job of the civilians is to find out in the course of the game who of the participants belongs to the Mafia, because that's how you win the game, that's how it works. But the Mafias have to pretend that they're like one of the civilians to get to the finale, and every night the Mafia would kill a civilian. But the faster the civilians find out who the Mafia is, the more of them survive and they make it to the end. The participants are given barcodes on their wrists after being informed that only the computer knows who they really are now. The first participant, an 85-year-old man called Luca, who also happens to be a billionaire, introduces himself to the group. Luca is only concerned with gambling, and he also loves games and also risking his own life. Cause then again, gambling is the ultimate high, and when you're gambling with your life, that high is very, well, high. And Luca, the very cruel man, has made sure that according to his will, that his grandchildren will inherit nothing if he dies during the game, because why the hell not? Player 2 is a 38-year-old engineer called Eli. He was diagnosed with incurable thyroid cancer, and he doesn't have more than 3 months to live. He's scared that his family will be left without money, which is why he joined the game because he wants to win his family $1 billion. Player 3 and 4 are both prisoners lucky enough to win the lottery to join the game. So every prisoner in the country, regardless of the crime that they committed or the punishment that they're receiving, can regain their freedom, and all they have to do to win it is to join the Mafia games. Player 3 explains that his trial was staged but is shut down by Player 4, known as Butcher, who also says that his trial was also staged. Player 5, who is also an officer called Vladimir, introduces himself and is insulted by Butcher, who hates the cops. Player 6 is a woman who joined the game to come to terms with her past. Player 7 is an older woman who agreed to be in the game in hopes of getting her old life back because she doesn't like her current one. Player 8 is a man who joined the game to see what he's capable of. Player 9 and 10 also get their turn to speak their minds, and Player 11, a blonde-haired woman called Maria, who used to be a very talented ballerina that ended her career due to a terrible accident, says that she joined the game to make her dreams come true. And finally, once they all introduce themselves, the host starts to speak, saying throughout the game the audience would learn a lot about the players. He starts a 10-minute countdown and starts the voting process and trying to figure out who the Mafia is. Maria votes that Kieran was the man in the Mafia, but Butcher cuts her off and mentions that he knows her from TV. He says that she and Piotr knew each other and were actually sleeping together. Piotr admits that he knows Maria and explains that he wanted to help her after her accident, and embarrassed by the revelation, Maria yells at Piotr and tells him that she doesn't love him. The group then decide that Maria might be the Mafia and they vote her in. Scared that she might get the majority vote, Piotr speaks up and asks her to vote him instead, saying that he was in the Mafia. The vote continues and the group decides to go with Maria instead of the person telling them that she's innocent. To be honest, I would have also voted Maria because she seems kinda sus at this point. Maria is then taken into a ball of black glass where her mind is transported into the woods where she is struck by lightning and dies, and this kills her in real life as well. We got ourselves a Matrix situation here. So after the first victim is cut out of the game, the host announces that the Mafias have picked the first person that they have chosen to kill. Butcher is picked and is told that he wouldn't be waken up after that night. He is then taken to a special room where a man asks him about his phobias. They then take him into an arena where he's forced to fight 2 animated men and wins. Thinking that he was going to go free, Butcher celebrates but accidentally falls and is impaled by a rebar. One of the players, Constantine, had clairvoyant abilities and worked as a consultant in high crisis situations, and he assures the other players that he knows who the Mafia is, and he continues to nominate Piotr. Angry, Piotr asks him why he had chosen to let Maria die if he thought that he was the Mafia, and Constantine tells him that the money would be divided among survivors, and he didn't really want that. Angry at Constantine, Piotr votes him for saying that he must be the Mafia, and the group starts voting for both Constantine and Piotr is chosen to go on trial. He's revealed to be a civilian, fortunately, but unfortunately, he's killed off by getting fed to sharks. After the death of 3 civilians, there is a chance to uncover the mafias. The host announces that the players are given an extra vote so that the players are given the opportunity to get rid of the mafia member, and they've got exactly 6 minutes to make a vote. Walter, who is a 45-year-old military officer with PTSD, accuses Ivan of being a child killer and wants him to be voted in. Ivan had gone to prison for accidentally killing a girl while he and his friends were drunk driving. Ivan thinks that he knows Larissa and asks if they've ever met before, but she tells him that she only knows of him from the broadcasted trial. When she sees that he's being rude to the boy, Larissa calls Walter out and tells him that he was a coward and that he lied about going to war. The two then vote for each other and the group sides with Larissa, putting Walter on the chopping block. His mind is transported to a war zone where he watches his team being killed off one by one, and he is then eventually shot to death. Once Walter was killed off, the host announces that it was time for the Mafia to make the pick for their victim. And the Mafia pick Larissa to die, and she confesses to Ivan about how she contributed to his downfall when his friend's parents asked her to lie and say that Ivan was at fault when she found him during the accident. Ivan forgives her, telling her that she probably didn't have a choice. Larissa's mind is then transported into an airplane thousands of meters off the ground because of her fear of heights, and the plane crashes and she is killed in the destruction. And now, only 6 participants remain and are given 4 minutes to vote for the person that they think is the Mafia. Constantine offers that they vote for Ivan, but Kirill doesn't agree, saying that Ivan's forgiveness of Larissa was real. Eli agrees with Kirill, but assumes he's working together with Katya to win the game. Then Ivan, Constantine, and Eli are voted for, but to be nominated, a player must have the majority count, so the vote is taken again. Constantine gets 3 votes but requires 1 more to be nominated, and surprising everyone, Constantine votes for himself, and it's discovered that he is actually the Mafia. He's transported to an empty stairwell where he finds himself aged years and has become an old man. He then quickly deteriorates and dies after rapidly aging. I gotta say, that's a bad way to go. Anyways, during the show, the host makes an announcement that it's time to reveal who will not wake up the next morning, and surprisingly, Ivan's name is chosen. Ivan becomes scared and starts crying, while the others are shocked that he's been selected. It's then revealed that Ivan is a civilian and not a member of the Mafia. And despite the very difficult news, Ivan remains calm and tells the group that it's alright and that he's accomplished a lot during his time on the show. He bids farewell to his mother, who had been eagerly watching, hoping for her son's release. And in Ivan's imagination, he is mentally transported back to prison, where he's executed by being shot multiple times. And now only 4 participants are left, and they must work together to expose the Mafia within them. Eli strongly believes that Katya and Kirill are a couple. Kirill is known for involving himself in controversial discussions, which is likely why he was chosen for the show. Unaware of Kirill's true nature, Katya confides in him, sharing her fears and revealing that she grew up in an orphanage. And because of her past, she feels that nobody will protect her. Kirill admits that he only had met Katya the day before and that they were not collaborating with each other. Luca asks both of them if they're certain that the other person is not part of the Mafia, and they assure him that that's true. However, the participants are unable to decide whom to nominate before the time runs out. And in response, unfortunately for everyone, the host announces that the game will make the decision for them. So the game randomly selects Katya, and Kirill becomes upset by the outcome. But it's revealed that Katya is actually a civilian and not a Mafia member. As she's being taken toward a black smoke globe, Kirill jumps out of her seat and climbs on top of her, questioning why she joined the show. Suddenly, they find themselves transported to a place where the ground is made entirely of grass. As Kirill approaches Katya to protect her, the glass beneath them shatters, causing them to fall to the ground. As they explore their surroundings, they encounter a massive beast that attacks them, and Kirill bravely fights off the creature and manages to kill it, saving Katya. Spotting a small hut in the distance, they make their way toward it, and Katya realizes that they've been transported back to the orphanage where she grew up, witnessing the moment where she was separated from her mom. She confides in Kirill, expressing her lifelong desire to discover the identity of her parents, which she was unable to do. Kirill reassures her that what she's seeing is not reality, and encourages her to try and move forward from it. Taking his advice to heart, they are suddenly transported back to the chamber of the show's creator. The creator reveals that when he discovered Kirill and Katya's connection, Constantine, who also wanted to dismantle the show, convinced him that as a couple, they would increase the show's intrigue. He explains that the audience was becoming bored, so he had to introduce new new element, and Kirill and Katya attempt to confront him, but he warns them that he controls reality and advises them not to make him regret sparing their lives. He then sends them back into the game, and they are relieved to still be alive. In the game, the host announces that according to the game, if one player and only one Mafia member are the ones remaining, the money is automatically paid off to the Mafia. Eli returns home to his very happy family and is greeted by them, and he apologizes to his wife for worrying her and tells her that he only wanted to do something to take care of his family. So Eli is basically the guy that won the game. Luca was just some douche who was a billionaire, but he was a civilian, he was not a Mafia, and Kirill and Katya have exited the game, and since Luca and Eli were the only ones left, Eli won by being the only one who was a Mafia member. His wife was pretty shocked to hear that he was actually a Mafia member, but she chooses to ignore it, believing that having him alive was the most important thing. Eli lived for another 10 months instead of the 3 that he was told, and Luca was allowed to leave the game alive, even though he technically didn't win. And Luca decided to actually disinherit all of his grandchildren and donated all his wealth to the orphanage that Katya had grown up in. Ivan's mom receives souvenirs of flowers every day, appreciating her son, the hero. Katya's voice monologuing comes through as Kirill watches the Mafia game building outside. She says the game in which there's little chance of winning had finally been won, but evil needed to be punished, but there's always someone who stands to challenge the system. It's later revealed in a very interesting twist that Kirill, Katya, and Konstantin have been in cahoots to take down the game before the movie comes to an end.